Well, hey, y'all. Welcome to the When We Walk podcast, where we talk about the things we talk about when we walk. I'm Shireen.
I'm Micah.
So, let's hark back to a time when you were in seminary.
Yes. Did you just say hark back?
Yeah, that's what you say, right?
Hey, I just haven't heard you use normal language. Okay, so let's hark back. Let's harken back to a time.
Is that? Yeah. To when you were in seminary.
Yes.
And you had to decompress, and you were telling me the story about when you took, at that point we only had one dog.
Yep. Fergie.
Yep. And you took her on a walk.
Yeah. So I had written this down. I would not have just like normally remembered this. But so I went on a walk, and in the course of that walk, I just was kind of, it was this recognition of the pace that we live our lives. And that's why I wrote about it, because, I tracked my mileage, which is normal. I tracked my calories and my time, which is kind of normal.
Which, we do that for.
Most people do that, just clicking on watch. I also took a call from my professor, because I was in school at the time. We reviewed an assignment together.
While you're walking.
While we're walking. And I was listening to a book all at the same time. So I, paused the book, took the call, reviewed the assignment, went back to the book. And in my little writing about it, I just mentioned 2 miles, 30 minutes, look at what I felt I needed to accomplish.
Were you writing it as like, I'm so proud of myself?
No, I wrote it down as, this was back in 2018, as a podcast idea of a podcast we were doing back then.
Okay.
About the pace of life everybody runs. And so I just was going back through old thoughts and ideas recently, and that popped up, that little story. Isn't that interesting?
A lot of people, that is normal.
That's their life. Yep.
Right? You're driving in your car, you're getting calls done, you're listening to a podcast or a book or, something.
Yeah.
Or you're, same thing, you're working out, trying to catch up, some people, whatever it is, catching up on your shows.
Yeah.
Or most of us are doing something like that.
Yeah, we multitask.
So it's
like
normal.
crazy.
It feels normal. Mm-hmm. However, for you in that moment, it was like, no, this is too much.
Why is this? Why do I feel the need to do all that? Like, there's a part of you that can feel like, wow, look at what I accomplished. There's another piece that's like, man, I didn't, take in the scenery.
Right.
I didn't write anything about the weather. I didn't write anything about
because you weren't able to notice
route.
it.
I wasn't paying attention to any of that. This was efficiency.
That's so funny. But you probably set out on your walk thinking, I'm going to disengage for a little bit. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, that is the point. Most people, like, I'm going to go on a run. I'm going to go on a walk. I don't know what other people do. But because I want to decompress. I want to be outside. But yet we always feel like it doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that then leads to just the time of life we're in right now, in the fall, coming into the holidays.
Oh,
which
yes.
You think holidays, like, you get to take some days off work, you get to relax a little bit.
Right,
maybe
there's parties and celebrations.
It's supposed to be like this fun time of year. And it just feels not like that for so many of us because of the pace we live our lives.
I know. Okay, so this is funny. I was doing a little scroll on Instagram, and I think it was November 1st when I was scrolling, and it said, and there was like a little meme or whatever that said, now's the season for you to start using the phrase, let's circle back after the holidays, or something like that. Or like,
so
now
November 1st,
season.
yes.
Yes. And I had just used it in an email already that day. I was like, oh no, I'm that person.
Yeah.
I just used this phrase because it already, like, November 1st, you look at the calendar and you start to see things filling up, and they're good things, right? Like, we've got staff Christmas parties, we've got things with friends, or, stuff with your kids, Christmas programs and final year things. And you just see it fill up. So automatically your mindset is, what can I take out as well?
Yeah. Yeah. And we use the let's circle back after the holidays is almost like this. It almost feels good.
It does.
Because our lives are so full. we have kind of this reason to just like, we'll do the reset, we'll reconnect after the new year. But the whole reason we're having to do that is because we are busy. And we have all kinds of things happening. So a question for you would be, when do you, because life is full, whether you have 1 kid, 4 kids, no kids, whether you're married, not married, like we all just have a tendency to jam pack our lives.
Yep.
I think we kind of live in a culture that has kind of convinced us, I could say, that we need to multitask. We need to be very efficient. We have the technology to do that now. So we can really do a lot of things at once, no matter what we're doing. And so at what point, though, do we begin to recognize that this feels like too much? Like where we maybe hit our mental capacity, our emotional capacity. For you, what would you say are one of your, I don't know the word you've used in the past, like one of your markers or indicators?
Yeah.
That like, I think I need to reset, or I think I'm hitting
my,
kind of hitting a wall.
Yeah. This is my threshold. Like I can't cross this or it will not be good.
Yeah.
Yes. I think, well, for me, I've learned a lot of different things. Obviously, this leads into even like our previous conversation about anxiety for me. I think for me, it's when I start noticing and I go on like, I notice all the little details about our lives or specifically our house.
Yeah.
And I walk in and I'm ready to start rage cleaning and like.
So you don't just notice the details. You notice things that are out of order or dirty or need to be addressed or attended to.
And and this is the difference. Sometimes I can notice them and move on because it's fine. It'll be fine. Other times I notice them and it has to be taken care of right this minute. In my head, it's like, this has to be taken care of right now. Yeah. And if it doesn't, I'm going to lose my mind and everyone else is going to feel it. And all of you are going to join in with me. So let's get this done. Right. And that's when I realized, okay, this is starting to affect like my level of stress, and what I've filled my life with is starting to impact me in a negative way. And now the people around me. Yeah. And that's when I think that's also a really good indicator, is when you start to realize you are shorting out with the people around you.
Yep.
Then it's really not healthy.
Right.
I mean, it's not healthy that it's already in your brain and you are already to your max capacity.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can, in and of ourselves, I think, just keep going.
Yeah.
But when it starts to affect your relationships, then I think, wow, that's a dangerous place to get to.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to get there.
Yeah. I think mine's similar. I'm the opposite of you, though. I think I could, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I will ignore all those things that you zone in on.
Yes, you do.
I'll just walk right past
sit on the couch and watch football.
I have to. It's like I can't even take one more thing on, and so I just shut it down. Where you engage it, I just turn it off. So,
isn't that funny? That's funny.
So, I think, even recently we had, I think we've done pretty well through the fall, the first part of the fall, in terms of, like, in the last couple of years, as you remember, our falls have just been so full that I get to like a bad spot really quickly.
Yeah.
And this year we tried to be really careful, and we've got another driver now. Laylee's driving, helps. So that's helped. And we tried to be a lot more intentional and use a lot more discretion and wisdom about what we brought into our lives, which has been really great. But then the last 2 to 3 weeks has felt max capacity. And so
I think once we get into it, we feel it more.
Yeah. And so I think it hit me, the recognition of it hit me a couple days ago. And so I'm thinking, like, what were those? How did I recognize it? One is similar to you. Had a couple moments with the boys where I just snapped at them about small things and took a step back and realized, okay, why did that bother me so much? It's because I'm feeling full. I'm feeling like there's too much right now, and I don't have the capacity to be slow and gentle and patient. I just want to, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Come down hard and fix the situation and move on. The other thing is, again, it's that mental shutdown for me, that I just begin to fully disengage from anything. So I'm always good at work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem at work, regardless of how busy or not we are. It all kind of unravels at home for me.
Right.
Whether I get too sharp with y'all or I get too disengaged, it's all home stuff for me. Yeah.
I wonder too, sometimes easier maybe for most people at work because there's clear, for the most part. I mean, even our job doesn't have clear hours, but there's clear hours. Like I'm wrapping, I'm starting at this time, this day, this, this point of the day, and then I wrap up at this time. And there's this clear like start and stop. Home life and chores and, social, expectations, whatever, those are never ending. And the work stuff comes back around, but it's like I don't know, the clear start and stops help.
Yep.
And then we get home and it's like this never ending. It feels like it's never ending. And there's not enough hours.
Yeah.
And I think that's true I think it doesn't matter, what phase of life you're in. That probably is, I wonder if that's true.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. Somebody told me recently that a lot of times when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not always an issue of capacity. Sometimes it's an issue of systems and structures.
Oh, that's good.
That you just don't have the right systems and structures in place. But you have the capacity for it if you could figure out how to organize it. So maybe at work, you've got the systems and structures, but then at home, you don't. And so you feel overwhelmed more often. So that's one way to look at it. I guess, what would you say are things we've learned along the way that has helped us manage seasons of busyness, or especially like as we're entering into the holiday season?
Yes.
So we can actually enjoy this time of year.
Yeah, because it is exciting. You want to.
It should be.
I know you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think first what we just talked about, like knowing what that threshold is, or what you're.
Yes.
I think recognizing that it's taken you and me a while to get to that place. Yeah. Counseling has helped, like counselors saying, hey, what is the point where this is where you're going to say no more beyond this, and I'm going to start putting things in place, or, make some changes or whatnot.
Yeah, because everybody's capacity is different.
Everyone is different.
So knowing your own personal threshold.
And, if you're a couple or a family, you've all got to talk about it because everyone's is different. Like we've even learned that with our kids. All our kids, Laylee could fill her life to the brim and be so happy. Not everything would go as smoothly maybe, but she would love her life.
She's nonstop.
But then we have other kids who, if they start to feel like they have too much, it's too much. And we've realized that. And so we have to help them manage it too. So I think as a family, just knowing what is everyone's kind of threshold of what they can do. Yeah, not just
like checking your own thresholds, but the kids or whoever else you're
and even if you're single, I think learning your friends too, because you might want to just keep inviting these friends into the things like you're a social extrovert kind of person, and you keep inviting your friends to all these things that they're like, I cannot keep doing this. My work is already feeling heavy and I just want to go home and put on my sweats. So I think we all have to learn the people in our lives and learn ours and then learn the people in our lives. So I think that's a really good first one. But then I think other systems, one of the ones you and I rely on for, I don't know how many years we've been doing this. We have our calendars all synced. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
everything.
There are a lot of things about technology I love. And then there's a lot that I don't like.
Yeah.
This has saved so many problems in marriage and family and just syncing our calendars.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to some friends about this recently who also one has 6 kids, the other has 3. And we were talking about, I was explaining how we do our calendar, that every kid has a different color. And it always feels like a little bit of a rainbow because everybody's things, your work things, my work things, your personal things, my personal things, and then all the kids' activities. Everything has a different color. And it always feels a little bit like a rainbow. Lately, it has felt more like a swirl because it's things on top of things on top of things on top of things. But at least it is a system and a structure to help know what is coming and how you're going to manage the day and how you're going to, some people, they have their handwritten thing on their fridge or something like that. This, for us, has worked really well.
And I think it helps because now our kids, they have
They see it.
devices
Yep.
and they can see it and they can add things
Yep.
now on their own because we can't manage everybody's
Right.
lives. They,
Yep.
a couple of them have jobs. They have their own activities. They know when practices get changed. They know when work schedule gets changed.
They get invited to something, they can put it
yep,
on there
they can
and
put it
then
on
come
there.
and talk to us and say, can I come to this?
And we can see
it?
it. And
Yep.
there have been times where a kid has said, no, I told you I wanted to go to this thing. And I've been like,
Yeah.
it wasn't on the
I know,
calendar.
yep.
I
I
didn't
know.
see it. We can't always we have to see these things and talk about them. I think it helps us because it's not just, syncing that makes it work. It's the fact that we'll see everything and we'll talk about
Yep.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we can evaluate, is this really necessary?
Right.
We got invited to this thing, but as we look at our full day,
Yeah.
should we say yes or really should we say
Yes.
no?
Yeah.
Or look at the day and say, actually, this came in late, but it's of the most value in our life. And we know that this is important. So we will cancel, kids' practices because we all need to be
Yep.
at this other, church
Yeah.
event or
Yep.
something else. So I think that helps because when you see your life laid out, I think you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And you look at things
Absolutely.
differently. And before you say yes or no to something, laying it out and looking at it and you're looking at not just time,
Yeah.
but value of what you're doing and then where it fits.
Yeah. And looking beyond the day
Yes.
of the
Oh,
event.
gosh.
And so
We've done
something
this
comes
wrong
up on
so
a
many
Monday
times.
night. And so you say, all right, nights are valuable. So I'm going to look at Sunday night and I'm going to look at the rest of the week before I determine, because how many times have we committed to something because Monday night was
Yes.
free, and then we realized we have something every night of the
single
week.
night. Yeah. And then we regret our lives. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a big help. Also, another system, I wouldn't really call it a system, it's more of a spiritual practice, but speaks to this, is Sabbath, right?
Yes. My favorite.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that and how that has helped us.
Well, you remember it came up in our lives during that season when you were trying to do all the multitasking things when you were in seminary, and you got so convinced that Sabbath is like something we have to have. And I was not as convinced.
Right.
I didn't think it was possible.
Well, it just
we
seems
had little
impossible.
kids
Yeah.
and it just didn't seem
And understanding
possible.
like what is it and how
Yeah.
could it work? Yeah.
And so it took me a little while to get into it or as convinced of it. But the more I remember, I'm the type of person, I like have a learner in my top 5. I need to sit on something.
You do.
I need a minute to learn about it, to see, is it worth
You do. How many deals, side note, how many deals have you missed out on because you see something, you didn't necessarily plan on buying it, but it's a
No.
great deal and you're like, oh my gosh, I want this. But you have to do all the research and you
do.
have to check. And you
Could I find it cheaper somewhere else?
And then you go back and
And
it's
it's
no
gone.
longer there.
Yeah, that is a story of my life. So I like to sit on things and really take it in
Yeah.
and learn it. I think then I own it better if I do. But when we finally got to the place of, okay, I realized this actually is a huge help in a lot of areas for me personally, just
Yeah.
with my, having anxiety and knowing that there is a day every week where you cut out all your regular work. Like that really helps relieve
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yep.
And we do our very best to keep that 24-hour period as clear as we can from work things, especially as
Yeah.
much as we can help it. But then also we really evaluate with the kids what they do. What we say yes to, whether it's something social for them or sports.
Yeah.
And we really try to, that really is a sacred time
Yeah,
that
yeah.
helps keep a rhythm of we need a break.
Yeah. It's kind of the old, the phrase, I think it was Walter Brueggemann, but and it's a twist on his phrase. If you want to live Sabbath, you have to live the other 6 days differently. But when you do begin to live Sabbath, it allows the other 6 days to feel different.
Yeah, it does.
And it doesn't mean you pack those out.
No.
For 24 hours a day, you're just nonstop. But it does shift your entire kind of emotional flow of the week when
I think so.
you've got this one day where you can put aside. The key is not working, but you could add to it anything that feels like an obligation that takes too much out of you. Now, of course, There's certain things you're always going to have to do. But I do think even in holiday season, like
it's harder.
It's harder. Because every day, because I'm taking a couple of days off work, so like how can I Sabbath on a week where I'm already taking a couple of days off work? But what are you doing for those 2 days? Are you running errands constantly? Or are you shopping? Are you prepping for meals? So I do think there might be wisdom. There is wisdom for people as they enter into this season of holidays and stuff to say, what are the days? Go ahead and put them on the calendar that these are going to be like no obligation days for us. Like these are actually just going to be rest days. These are going to be like in the midst of the holidays. It feels weird to say like these little Sabbaths, but is there a way to Sabbath from all the obligations, all the responsibilities? You always say
there's no shoulds on Sabbath.
No shoulds, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Should on yourself, yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
I think I think making sure as you're going into this season that you've got a couple of those. And I actually think for even people who do Sabbath, you can tend to take a break from Sabbathing during the holidays.
I think a lot of people probably do. Yeah.
But stick with it because it has a little bit of a different purpose.
It totally
in
does.
our lives, yeah.
I think you have to differentiate between a day off, which for a lot of people is I'm just going to get some stuff done. But even, days off to just go do something, uniquely different. But a Sabbath is, you're right, it's completely different from just a regular day off, or you're going to get stuff done, or catching up around the house, whatever the thing is that you think in your head. Yeah. I think that helps break that cycle of busyness. Because I think what happens is this busyness makes us start to feel like if I'm not producing something, I'm failing.
That's exactly what it does.
I mean, and I know that's how it feels for me, is if I'm not constantly doing something like, I mean, it's the perfect picture of what you shared about your walk. Like if I'm not getting multiple things done, checking stuff off on my list, feeling like I've accomplished something in my day, week, whatever, then when you get to those Sabbath days, what it does is it breaks that in you.
Yeah,
because I've talked to so many people who, when they start practicing, they're like, I feel so bored and
purposeless.
Purposeless. Like I don't like this feeling. And I'm like, I think that's the point.
It's like a caffeine addiction, right? Like I drink so much coffee that when I don't drink coffee, my body tells me something's wrong. I get a huge headache.
But that's not true.
Right. The thing that's wrong is I don't have this chemical that my body is now addicted to. And so when you're that busy and you're going all the time and you decide to take a breather, you can feel like something's wrong.
Yeah.
You can feel like I'm not
producing. Yeah. I'm not useful. I'm not bringing meaning or purpose into my life or other people's lives. Yep. Yeah. And I think Sabbath is one of the best things that breaks that inside of us internally. Yeah. And the fact that we do it every week, it's like a realignment. Like, nope, I got to break this in me again. And so I think even more so in the holidays, Sabbath is so much more needed because we do feel this need to like keep up in the holidays, right? Whether it's you're watching everyone else on social media post all their fun holiday things they're doing, and you feel this pressure to keep up. It's okay to just say, actually, we're not going to do all of that. I'm not, because that's just as still fulfills that feeling of producing, right? I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to do all these fun things, quote unquote, but it just fills your days and then they don't become as fun. Yeah,
it's so true. I think there's one other thing I'll throw in there for ways that we can kind of manage the fullness, the busyness, the stress, the anxiety that we feel in the season. And it's something you could do all the time. Is I learned this during COVID when just the stress of all that was kicking in, is breathing exercises.
Oh, yeah.
And those are almost like, not technically, but almost like little mini Sabbaths.
Oh, it's so
like to
helpful.
Take a break between meetings, take a break between responsibilities. We tend to just jump from thing to thing to thing. And I don't think we often recognize the way that compounds mentally.
Yep.
The way it compounds emotionally, the way it compounds even physically as you go throughout your day. So I was reminded of this even just last week. I went in for my cognitive and speech evaluation,
Oh,
post-stroke
after
stuff.
stroke. Mm-hmm.
And she said one of the primary things you can do, I'm like, tell me all the things. Like, what can I do to make sure my brain
Right.
fully recovers? Sleep, which another thing we could talk about, getting good sleep. But she said, do breathing exercises once a day. She said, studies have shown once a day
Wow.
for post-stroke recovery or any kind of brain trauma, just 2 minutes once a day, breathing.
Yes, that's so
like
good.
focusing on your breathing, deep, slow breaths. There's apps now that you can,
there are.
I mean, on your Apple Watch or whatever, that can kind of walk you through how to just do a deep breathing exercise, a slow breathing exercise. And she said that's one of the primary ways to heal brain trauma, which then got me thinking into
oxygen.
Yeah, like,
listen,
man.
I could get into all this.
Oh yeah, and so it's
nursing
just
background.
this like, what if you, like, for those who don't have brain trauma, like just living life this way, feeding your brain, feeding your body, your soul, your spirit, having a moments throughout the day that you set, whether it's with, a reminder on your phone or whatever, to say for 2 minutes,
Yep.
I'm going to sit in silence and I'm going to breathe, or I'm going
It's
to pray,
so
or I'm
helpful.
going to read a passage.
Yeah, I know in nursing school, it was like so stressful in nursing school. And I had a professor who, before he started his class, every time he would turn off the lights or dim the room, and he would make us do a breathing exercise before he started, because it was like his lecture was always in the middle of the day, and you could tell we had already been packed on. We were so stressed. We knew it was coming. And he would say, okay, let's take a little break. And I remember feeling like, okay, I can make it through. I can make it through. And it really does. There is something that's so helpful.
Yeah.
I also think I learned this back in when I was going through my anxiety stress world of, like, I remember I would spend a lot of time with Jesus, obviously. And one of the things I read somewhere was that Jesus was never in a hurry. He was never in a hurry.
Yeah.
Talk about how busy he could have been.
Yeah.
People pressing in on him, asking of him all the time. And I remember this author said he was never in a hurry.
Yeah.
I think about, we were even just watching The Chosen the other night, and this was the story he used in this example of how he was asked to go and heal. I think it was Jairus. Is that who you're saying?
Jairus.
Jairus's daughter, right? She was sick, about to die, and he's making his way there, and the woman with the issue of blood comes and stops him. And I kept thinking, poor Jairus. He's like, come on, hurry it up.
Right.
Get to my daughter. I'm so worried.
know.
And here's this interruption because Jesus wasn't in a hurry.
Yep.
He was not in a hurry.
Yeah.
And he took time and he looked at this woman and he made sure she felt seen and known and healed, and then moved on. And what looked like it was too late was not.
Yeah.
And what Jairus could have said is, if you would have been faster. I mean, it's what Mary and Martha said.
Yeah.
You should have come sooner
That's so
to
true.
Lazarus. And because he was never in a hurry. Because he just wasn't.
Yep.
And I think that is a great model to us of, like,
Yeah.
why do we think that we can outlive him in the things that we're going to produce on this earth?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I was just looking it up. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's when our stillness actually is just this reminder that we're not in charge.
Yep.
We're not actually as in control as we think we are, that he's the Lord, that he's God. And there's great freedom in that.
Yep.
And sometimes we just need that throughout our day, or at some point in our week. We need a little bit of a reset to be reminded that we are not God, that
Yep.
he is.
Yep.
And it's often in moments of stillness where that revelation can settle back into our hearts and can kind of help us mentally, emotionally, physically enter back into a place of love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, all of those things.
That's
that
where all of
really get stolen from us
Yes.
in seasons of
You
busyness.
can renew those fruits of the Spirit in
Yep.
you when you slow down, breathe deep, practice Sabbath, align your calendar and your days and the choices you make well.
And just recognize that you don't have to do this. Like, you don't have to live this way. You don't have to
No,
keep
we
up
don't.
with everybody else. There's actually, the church has in every season always been countercultural,
Right.
Because of who we worship. And, there's a way to be countercultural even in the holiday season.
Well, and I love the fact that the holiday season, I mean, when we really, because we forget this sometimes, Advent means a season of waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. Waiting, expectation.
Yeah. Which is slow, which is, it's sometimes, to use our kids' words, boring.
Right.
And you're waiting for something, and the tendency is to fill your life.
Yep.
And what I think God wants us to do instead is slow down, remember, wait, don't be in a hurry. I think that's important to remember.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it well this year.
I hope
Hopefully
so.
Listeners can as well.
We can report back.
Yeah, right. For sure. It's great. So with that in mind, Thanksgiving's
coming.
What do you look for? What's your food of choice?
Food.
You spend so much time cooking. Does it keep you from being able to enjoy?
I feel like every year is different because sometimes I like to change at least like one thing up. But I actually really love cornbread dressing. That has been something you have brought into my life.
Well, my mom has brought
Your mom has brought that in.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, I am not truly Southern because my parents are not Southern.
Right.
So we didn't grow up with traditional
Southern
did more
meals. Stuffing.
Yeah, my mom used to do stuffing, which had like raisins and nuts, and I did not enjoy it as much.
But dressing.
But then I experienced Southern cornbread dressing. Game changer.
Yeah.
I want it. I mean, that's like the leftover I'm always looking forward to.
And it complements every aspect of
everything.
That's good.
I love it with like a little bit of like cranberry sauce. Oh man, it's so good.
I love that you like it.
I know.
So that we have it.
Yeah,
great.
We've added it to our menu now for years.
For me, it is Coneflower Creamery, the best ice cream joint on the planet.
Nothing that I even made. Dang it.
They make, all your stuff's great. But because it's only once a year, this pie that they make that I started buying about, I think 4 years ago when they first started doing this, it's the sweet potato ice cream pie.
And it's got like a meringue
sweet potato
on
ice cream
top,
meringue, which to me, anything with meringue on it is good. Toasted meringue. It's got this like brown butter crust and then this bourbon caramel swirl in the sweet potato ice cream. I mean, it
is really good.
I just ordered it today. Can't wait
We're already excited about dessert.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful for y'all. Thanks for joining us on When We Walk, and we can't wait to be with you next time.